Thank you so much for joining us. And today we have a really special event. We're streaming live from the 8th floor of our Children's Hospital, Wisconsin, in the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. And standing next to me is Nurse Erin, and she's one of the primary nurses for Madeline, who was a NICU baby. And Madeline was born premature at 24 weeks, and we're going to take some time today to get to know Madeline, and we're going to take some time to get to know Madeline's mom, and get to learn about the NICU experience with a premature baby. And so for all of you who are joining us today, please take a moment to share this event on Periscope. We want to really spread the word about this event and show our support for Madeline. So with that, I'm going to leave you with Erin, and she's going to introduce you to this amazing family. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Erin. I want to introduce you to Rebecca. This is Madeline's mom.
Hi, I'm Rebecca, and this is Madeline. She is so excited she got the hiccups. But we've been here at the NICU at Children's for about 3 months. Today Madeline's doing awesome. She just has a little bit of oxygen. She's 5 pounds. She's so alert, and she loves, being held and looking around. She feels so much like a newborn baby. But she is 3 months old. She was born early. Her and her sister Lydia were twins, and me and my husband, we were so excited to be having 2 little girls, but we had twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, which is something very rare that happens to identical twins, and it's something that we didn't expect to go through, and we weren't prepared for it all. We were able to come down to Children's, and we did have Madeline and Lydia. Lydia passed away after 5 days, but we were able to meet our daughter, and Madeline's here with us today, and I know if we hadn't come here, we wouldn't have been able to meet either of them. When we had our emergency C-section, Madeline's heart was actually stopping. We heard on the monitor a very long pause, and that was one of the scariest things I've ever heard. For Madeline's story, she was immediately admitted to the NICU along with her sister. They both had teams of doctors. My husband said it was amazing, just everybody coming to them, getting them resuscitated, getting them everything they needed, and they were transferred down to the NICU. And it's been a very long journey. When she was born, she was just over a pound. She was 12 inches long, and when I saw her for the first time, I was just amazed how tiny both her and her sister were, but also how strong they both were, and how much you could tell that they were really there and they were living this experience too, and this is just part of their stories. We've gone through a lot of different things, getting Madeline healthy and up and running. She started in a giraffe, which is a little isolette. It was essentially her little room, and we had to keep her on a breathing tube for a while, and keep her kind of in a regulated temperature environment, and things that you don't really expect when you're thinking of interacting with your newborn child for the first time.
So can you tell us about those first few days when you didn't know how long you'd be in the NICU and what that felt like?
Well, we knew that we would hopefully be here at Children's for quite some time, because the girls' original due date was actually going to be November 20th. So we knew that they had a lot of developing to do, a lot of growing to do, and I guess what I remember most is trying so hard to understand what was going on. The circumstances are so different, the language is so different, of trying to understand that the nurses played a huge role. There were doctors that took the time to explain to us what was going on, what sort of medicine we were using. Dr. Cohen's here with us today, and I think she wants to say hi.
Hi, my name is Susan Cohen, and I'm one of the neonatologists here at Children's Hospital of Wisconsin, and I had the pleasure of taking care of this family both early on as well as now on this last week, hopefully, of their hospital stay. It's a privilege to take care of premature children, especially those who really require multiple disciplines to keep them healthy and safe. And particularly in Madeline's case, I think that we had an opportunity to really make some difficult decisions together. One of which I remember very distinctly is that she required a breathing tube for a number of weeks. And in the short term, my goal, I have goals every time I come on service for every child I take care of, and the goal that I had in place was that I wanted her to try to breathe without having that breathing tube. And after, I think it was basically a team decision, we decided on utilizing a strategy where we use steroids to help her lungs work a little bit more efficiently so that we can get her off the breathing tube and onto a less invasive form of ventilation. And every decision we make, we don't make it lightly. And I think at that time we talked about the pros and cons of doing that.
Yeah, one of the experiences parents have here at the NICU is, you want to try and be available in the mornings because that's when they do rounds, and the doctors come in with their teams. They talk about different plans for the day. We get an update about everything that might have happened overnight. They always say how many days she's old. She hit 100 just a few days ago, and really being able to understand all of the things that happen throughout the day and throughout that next week with the goals that we're trying to hit, because it really is a different world. You kind of take for granted things like breathing and digesting breast milk, even being able to eat on your own, and those are all things that Madeline needed our help getting her going on.
We joke as neonatologists that we're the type of doctors you don't know about until you need us. And so we have to introduce the family to a different vocabulary, a different set of expectations. We have to work with families sometimes basically losing the chance of a normal pregnancy and a normal postpartum period, where we have to walk with them through really stressful times and have to make some difficult decisions, and we try to educate the families because they have no framework for these decisions. And I think the challenge I see is that it's not fair sometimes that we ask a lot of our parents and the children to make decisions quickly before all the information's there, but our responsibility as doctors is to have that conversation and give you the tools to make the right decision with us. And I think there are times when we have to convey news that we weren't expecting. A second major memory is a time period when Madeline took a major step backwards and had to have a breathing tube put back in. And I had to make a really tough phone call in the middle of the night. And I think that is something that parents don't realize, that you might take 2 steps forward and you have to be prepared for that 1 step backwards.
Yeah, it can be very scary. I mean, this is the NICU. It's the ICU for little babies like Madeline. And Madeline's sister Lydia, she was just a few ounces smaller than Madeline. And she passed away. You don't know what's going to happen. Everybody tries their very best. And, there's things that you can't control. One of the things that I remember about our experience with Lydia, though, was the moment we knew it was extremely likely she was going to pass away. The nurses got in touch with a photographer who came to take pictures of her. The nurses were very helpful in getting footprints and handprints and allowing us to hold, this tiny 24-week-old baby. So you have all kinds of experiences you don't expect, but you really feel like you're doing everything you can and you're doing it as a team. and we're really grateful for the progress Madeline has made. And now our nurse Erin, she helps us get Madeline out and take a bath. Being able to hold her since she was a tiny baby, and really building your relationship with your baby, even though you would hope or you dream that you would still be pregnant with your child, and that's not the case. But one of the things that you're doing here is you're providing support to your baby, and it's in a different way than you expected, but everybody's helping you do that.
We think about all the things that a doctor or a nurse can provide, and there's just some things that only a parent can do, and that's why parents are a valuable part of our medical team, and that is why children who have the opportunity to have their parents here and interact with them in this special bond, it really helps not only their hospital course, but it helps them long term from a neurologic standpoint and neurodevelopmental standpoint.
What's a typical day like in a NICU?
Well, it depends on what Madeline wants to do that day, mostly. But a typical day is, I'm currently staying at the Ronald McDonald House, which is right next to Children's Hospital. And that's a great resource for parents who are going to be here long term with their children, who live further away. I live in the Fox Cities, but that allows me to be here with Madeline. So at 2:30 in the morning, like I usually call and check and just see what's been going on with her that night, and then in the morning, after I get ready, I just head over here. In the morning, the doctors, like I said, they do rounds, and then you work with your nurse to kind of make a plan. Today, later this afternoon, Madeline might have a couple of lab tests. We have a great physical therapist who has been working with us and Madeline because she had a breathing tube for so long. She didn't really have the opportunity to be moving her head as much as would have been best for Madeline, and so our physical therapist works on getting some of those muscles and some of that those motor skills up and running, and she helps show me and my husband Oliver things that we can do with Madeline. Like I said, we take baths. Madeline loves having her hair washed. It's like her favorite time of day. And then after we get her out, we put warm blankets on her, and she's just oh my gosh, this is the life. There's less fun things that we do. If we have to have a certain test done, or just things to kind of track and make sure that we're making progress towards our goals. Erin, as a nurse, is there anything I left out or anything that you would want to add about, the day-to-day things?
Well, I think it's really fun seeing her with the milestones that she's made, the first time she got to eat with a bottle and the first time she got to breastfeed. I think were huge things that she did in her life, that we kept talking about what happened, and then all of a sudden she just was ready and took off. We as nurses do our assessments and make sure that she's doing well, and but I think this is the best part now, after everything that she's gone through, to get to hold her and and now that she's getting to eat and just get big.
Yeah, and you do get to know the staff well. So Madeline has two primaries. Erin and Lynette are her day primaries, and then she has Jackie and Sherry on nights. And so those are nurses who are with you as consistently as works with the schedule and everything. So these are the nurses that Madeline met when she was born, and I still see Lydia's nurses in the NICU, and they might stop by and say hi and check up on Madeline, and then the doctors as well as they go through their rotation. We're lucky enough to have Dr. going back again, but everybody has their own personality and their own way of doing things. You learn different things from each person you get to work with, and of course Madeline is totally the one running the show and kind of telling us even the best laid plans, like, she might throw out the door. I remember, a couple of times where we were hemming and hawing over, removing like a certain tube or, sensor or something like that, and she's just like, nope, I'm done with that, and I'm going to be a rock star and show you guys I can do anything.
I'd like to just take a moment to remind everybody watching on Periscope to please share this event. We want to spread the word and we want to show our support for baby Madeline. We're getting a lot of great comments. A lot of folks are just talking about you as being an amazing mother. And can you speak to, like, where do you find the strength to go through an experience like this? And as a mom, or any new mom, it's difficult, but in your situation, how do you find the strength and support to make it through this experience?
I don't think anybody would ever think that they could go through something like this until they have to. I remember when we first got here and we were in antepartum, which means the opposite of wanting to go into labor. You're trying actively to not be in labor. And I remember just seeing like this entire time stretching ahead of us that, we wanted to get till November, and I honestly had no idea how we'd be able to get here. It seemed like an eternity. But I mean, you just have to keep going for your family and for your children. My husband's been amazing, asking questions when, I wasn't in the state to after the C-section, making sure he's taking care of both me and, our daughters. And then also meeting other parents who go through something similar. When this happened, I felt like this is the worst thing ever that just happened to me alone. But I met another mother here who also had twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome with her children, and she lost one of her babies. You see other families here and the things that they go through, and the conversations you might have with them. But then also, as this has unfolded, I've made some trips back home, and people that I never would have thought maybe lost a child or lost a pregnancy, have told me about their stories, and you realize how important it is just to be really aware of that this still happens. People still lose babies, and people still lose, children, and you think of it as such an isolated thing, but it's so important to realize that it's not just you, and that there's some really sad stories and there's some really amazing success stories, and either way, that's part of your child's story, and you have to be able to be there for them.
And Dr. Cohen, you've seen a lot of families go through maybe similar experiences. What do you see in these families that really gives them the strength, and what does Children's Hospital of Wisconsin do to help support these families?
Well, I think part of it is that they probably it's really important that it takes a village for parents to have that support. Family and friends provide that support that help them sort of emotionally adapt to this changing world, this changing paradigm. And then subsequently, I think it's valuable that our nursing staff are here bedside to be able to answer questions and really build a bond between the parents and the care providers at the bedside. I think as a medical team, recognizing that we don't work in isolation, that we don't stand behind any white coat. We don't wear white coats. We feel very confident that parents are part of this very, very dynamic medical team. That the parents' voice, the parents' observation, the parents' touch on their own